All right, let's jump right in. You know that feeling when the annual AMS renewal notice lands in your inbox? It's so tempting to just treat it like any other utility bill, right? Pay it and move on. But that, right there, is one of the biggest strategic mistakes an association can make. So today, we're going to unpack a framework that takes you way beyond the simple renew or replace dilemma and gives you 3 strategic gates for making a much, much smarter decision.
For years, this has been the question. It's this binary choice that forces you into one of 2, frankly, painful camps. You either stick with what you know, even with all its frustrations, or you brace yourself for the massive disruption of a full replacement. It can feel like there's just no good answer.
But what if that's the wrong question entirely? What if there's a third path, a powerful middle ground that gets overlooked all the time? Optimize. You see, this one word reframes the entire decision. It's no longer a simple A or B choice. It's a strategic evaluation with 3 totally valid outcomes.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because we have to talk about something called the inertia trap. Just automatically renewing your system because it seems easier? That's a huge risk. Look, your AMS isn't just overhead. It's the engine that runs member engagement and revenue. And right now, the cost of that inertia is climbing fast.
Let's put a real number on that inertia. According to industry data, the average price increase for software as a service is a staggering 11.4% this year. To put that in perspective, that's more than 4 times the rate of general inflation. This is not some small bump. It's a major budget pressure you have to account for.
And here's what that actually means in real dollars. That $50,000 system you have, suddenly it costs over $55,000. And what new features, what new value did you get for that nearly $6,000 increase? Well, in most cases, absolutely nothing. That is the real cost of just standing still.
So that brings us to our first decision gate, keep. But let's be crystal clear about this. This is not passive renewal. This is informed retention. It's an active, strategic choice to stay with your system, and it has to be backed by actual evidence that it's genuinely working for you and for your members.
And believe me, that member piece is so critical. An association shared this exact story. They kept their system for what they called stability, but in reality, it was just stagnation. See, the problem is your staff learns all the workarounds, so they stop seeing the issues. But your members, they feel the full pain, and they walk away. So, to make a truly informed retention decision, you have to do the work. You need to document precisely why the system is still the right choice. Then you use that data to proactively negotiate your contract. And maybe most importantly, you have to get outside your own staff's bubble and validate that your members are actually happy with it. This brings us to the exciting second gate, strategic optimization. Honestly, this is the path for the vast majority of associations out there whose system is, it's pretty good, but it's not perfect. The idea here is to keep your core AMS, but strategically integrate other best-of-breed tools to fix those specific nagging gaps. I mean, here's a perfect real-world example. An association was fighting with their clumsy AMS events module for 3 years. It was a huge source of staff frustration, but instead of ripping everything out, they just integrated Eventbrite. And the result? A huge operational win. They slashed their event setup time by 60% without the headache of a full replacement.
Now, for a strategy like this to work, 2 things are absolutely non-negotiable. First, your core AMS has to have solid, open APIs. It needs to play well with other software. And second, you need vendor-neutral advice. You want recommendations for the best tool for your job, not the one that pays the consultant the highest commission.
And that leads us finally to our third gate, necessary replacement. Look, sometimes the system is just broken. It's not just annoying, it's actively holding your association back, and no amount of optimization is going to fix it. The triggers are clear. Staff workarounds are burning hours every single week, or maybe the vendor itself is in decline.
And the cost of delaying this decision can be absolutely immense. Here's a scary story. One organization stuck with a declining vendor for 2 years longer than they should have. They calculated the cost in lost staff productivity alone was $180,000. You have to remember, the pain of change is temporary, but the pain of a failing system, it just compounds year after year.
So, here's the crucial takeaway. You don't need the perfect AMS. It doesn't exist. The real goal is to find the right fit AMS, the one that's built for your association's specific budget, your staff size, and your strategic goals. What works for a massive enterprise is almost never the right choice for a mid-sized group.
Okay, so how do you actually make the call between these three gates? Well, here is a simple but really powerful framework you can use to take the emotion out of it and guide the conversation. It's all about scoring your system across three critical dimensions to get a clear, objective picture of where you really stand.
You just need to ask three key questions. First, on capability. Let's be honest. How many shadow spreadsheets and manual workarounds are we really tolerating? Second, total cost. What is the true cost of the system when you factor in all that wasted staff time? And third, future value. Looking ahead, can this system deliver the experience your members are going to expect next year and the year after that?
When you can honestly answer those questions, you can frame this decision not as a stressful renewal, but as your next strategic move. It completely transforms the conversation from a reactive chore into a proactive, exciting decision about the future of your association.
So the biggest takeaway today is this. You have three valid options: keep, optimize, or replace. Each one is a legitimate strategic choice, depending on your specific situation. The real power comes from knowing you have these options and then consciously choosing the right gate for your organization.
So document the why behind your choice. Your board, your successor, and most importantly, your members will thank you for it. And as you make that choice, I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is that comfortable feeling of stability actually just inertia in disguise? And what is it really costing your future?